It was supposed to be an ordinary tour. A simple, serene day out on the ocean for a handful of excited tourists who had paid to see whales in their natural habitat. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. No one expected it to be anything more than a scenic, unforgettable moment, a photo for social media, a story for dinner. But by the time they returned to shore, their cameras held more than just memories. They had captured something otherworldly, something mysterious, something that would spark a global frenzy. And it all began with a single breach. The sunlight danced across the calm waters of Spruce Harbor as the boat swayed gently against the dock. The air was crisp, filled with the salty breath of the ocean and the cheerful murmur of tourists gathering for their adventure. Laughter mingled with the cries of seagulls overhead, creating a symphony of joy and anticipation. At the center of it all stood a large vessel, moored with quiet pride. This was to be their gateway to the deep, a journey into the realm of giants. The crew moved efficiently, tying knots, checking equipment, and offering life vests to eager hands. At the helm stood Captain Blay, a weathered mariner whose years at sea gave him an air of stoic command. His eyes, narrowed against the morning sun, scanned the harbor with a quiet sense of guardianship. Among the tourists, excitement buzzed like electricity. A young family snapping selfies, a pair of newlyweds clinging to each other, college students joking loudly, an older couple sharing warm glances, and a lone rider staring into the horizon, notebook in hand. With a low hum and a gentle push, the boat peeled away from the dock and glided toward the open sea. The water shimmered like glass, and the coastline slowly faded behind them. "You're in luck today," the captain called out from the bridge. "Last week was all fog and shadows, but today, the whales will dance for you." And he was right. Just 15 minutes into the journey, a flash of motion caught their eyes. A massive shadow beneath the surface stirred the ocean into life. Then, a breach. A whale, colossal and majestic, launched itself halfway out of the water, twisting in the air before crashing down in a thunderous splash. A chorus of gasps erupted from the passengers. Cameras clicked furiously, eyes widened, and the boat slowed to a reverent drift. The whale stayed close, offering another breach, then another. A fine mist sprayed into the air as it exhaled forcefully through its blowhole. The tourists stood in awe, spellbound by the power and grace before them. For many, it was the moment they had been dreaming of. But the sea wasn't finished with them yet. What no one knew, not even Captain Bull, was that the real show hadn't started. The first strange moment came when the whale began to circle the boat. Once, then again. Its massive form sliced through the water with strange intent. It wasn't acting like the others. While most whales keep their distance, this one kept returning, diving and surfacing, left, right, then beneath them. It was as if it was studying the people aboard, or delivering a message. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Captain Blay's cheerful facade began to slip. Something about this whale felt deliberate, too focused, too calculated. And when the whale disappeared again beneath the surface, a tense silence followed. Minutes dragged. People leaned over the railings, scanning the water. Hearts thumped. Then, whoosh! A sound no one could mistake. The whale resurfaced. But this time not with a breach. This time only its head rose just beside the boat, so close that those standing by the railing could see into its open mouth. And that's when the screaming started. At first, the fear was primal, the gaping maw of an animal large enough to swallow a man whole. But then the screams changed. They became confused, even horrified, because inside the whale's mouth there was something that didn't belong, something impossible, something shiny. Flashes from phones lit up the scene. Fingers pointed. The whale lingered, its mouth still open, before slowly sinking back beneath the surface. Silence returned, a heavy, chilling silence. Tourists stared at their phones, flipping through the images they had just captured. It wasn't a trick of the light. It wasn't debris. There, clearly visible in every photo, was a large metallic object, angular, gleaming, and completely foreign. It looked like it had no business inside a whale's mouth. "What is that?" a voice asked, breaking the silence. Another followed. "A shipwreck? A bomb? Jewelry?" Captain Blay ordered the engines on. "We're heading back," he said firmly. But just as the crew turned the boat around, a small voice cut through the tension. "Wait! I got it!" Every head turned. A young boy, no older than 8, stood holding something in his hand. Something golden. In the chaos and distraction, Danny, the boy, had reached overboard and plucked the object from the whale's mouth. Nobody saw him do it. But there it was, in his hands. A golden trinket, no bigger than a baseball, glinting in the sun like something out of a dream. The crowd parted as Captain Blay stepped forward, staring at the object in stunned silence. "Where did you get that?" he asked, barely above a whisper. "The whale gave it to me." Danny said with innocent sincerity. And just like that, the trip had gone from extraordinary to unexplainable. What followed would change everything for the people aboard, and perhaps even for the history books. Captain Blay took the object gently from the boy's hands. It was heavier than it looked, with intricate carvings all over its surface, symbols and patterns that seemed too deliberate to be random, yet too old to decipher at first glance. That evening, after everyone had disembarked and the dock returned to its usual quiet, the captain sat alone in his small coastal home, the golden object resting under a lamp. It shimmered faintly, as if hiding secrets in its curves. He spent hours scouring the internet, diving deep into ancient records, museum catalogs, and obscure maritime forums. Just as his eyelids began to droop, he froze. There, buried in a digital archive of stolen treasures, was a match, a near-identical trinket, last recorded as part of a vast treasure hoard plundered by pirates and lost to the sea centuries ago. According to the entry, it was one of many pieces stolen from a royal fleet and believed to have vanished forever in the Atlantic. His fingers trembled as he reread the entry. Could it be? Could this be a piece of that lost treasure? Unwilling to trust his own eyes, Captain Beale reached out to the author of the archive entry, a historian by the name of Dr. Agnes Walters, an expert in pirate legends and missing maritime artifacts. He left a message detailing what he had found, along with a few blurry photos. She replied within the hour. Dr. Walters was intrigued and soon made the trip to Spruce Harbor to inspect the item in person. Upon examining the artifact, she confirmed his suspicions. "This," she said softly, "is authentic. This is part of the lost Royal Armada treasure, the one said to have been swallowed by the sea in the early 1700s. The question that echoed in both their minds was the same. How did this end up in a whale's mouth? The story quickly spread across the town like wildfire. News outlets picked it up. Theories flooded social media, and treasure hunters from around the world began arriving in Spruce Harbor, hungry for a clue. But Captain Blay had no intention of letting anyone else dive into these waters. Not yet. With Dr. Walters by his side, the two began to formulate a plan. If this trinket had survived, perhaps the rest of the treasure had as well. They gathered a team, not adventurers, but professionals. Divers, marine archaeologists, a sonar specialist, and one underwater cartographer who had worked with the Navy before turning to freelance exploration. Within a week, they were back on Captain Bill's vessel, this time fully equipped and hyper-focused. The whale, astonishingly, returned to the same location, as if waiting, as if it understood. With silent resolve, the team dove beneath the surface, following the creature into the deep. Guided by its slow, deliberate movements, they swam for nearly an hour until shapes began to emerge through the dark water. A shipwreck. It lay broken but proud at the bottom of the ocean, its timbers worn by time, its masts snapped, but the bones of a great vessel unmistakably clear. Among the wreckage, nestled into the sand and coral, was a chest. Time had not been kind to it. Its exterior was cracked and riddled with decay, but it was unmistakably a treasure chest, and what peeked through its broken lid sent a jolt of excitement through the team. Gold. Real gold. With careful precision, they secured the chest with their pulley system and began the slow, tense process of hauling it to the surface. Every member of the crew watched as the rusted metal box finally broke the surface, dripping and heavy with history. Back on deck, the chest creaked open. Inside, nestled among decayed velvet and crumbled wood, were coins, jewelry, goblets, and trinkets, some ornate, others simple, all glittering with the untouched glow of forgotten centuries. The silence was absolute. No one spoke. No one moved. They had done the impossible. When Dr. Walters returned a few days later to analyze the items, she was speechless. Her final estimate of the treasure's worth stunned everyone, over 82 million tajum in historical value. It was a find beyond comprehension, not just for the money but for what it meant, the rediscovery of a legend, proof that sometimes truth hides in the stories we've dismissed as fantasy. But with great discovery came great responsibility. The group debated what to do with the treasure. Could they keep it? Should they? In the end, they agreed. The world deserved to see this, to learn from it. The National Museum stepped in with a generous finder's fee and took the artifacts under their wing for preservation and display. The town of Spruce Harbor was never the same. Tourists flooded in from all over, scientists, journalists, treasure hunters, all hoping for a piece of the mystery. But none of them could explain how a whale had led them to it. As for the whale, it was never seen again. Some say it was just coincidence. Others believe something deeper. That the ocean, in its timeless wisdom, chose to share a story that had been buried too long. And Danny, the boy who pulled the trinket from the whale's mouth, he still carries a picture of that day in his wallet, a reminder that magic, mystery, and the unknown still exist, waiting just beneath the surface.